Live streaming to YouTube. I just got a really important question from somebody in my inbox and I wanted to share it with you. And it basically comes down to something you've heard me teach about in the past, which is how to be an owner and not an operator. And that's really important because I just met with somebody yesterday, a very successful business owner, but he's been running his business for 48 years, and I'll probably film a video on YouTube about it in the future. But like 24/7, 365, he's got 37 rooms in a motel, and his wife sits at the front of the motel and he's in the rear. And again, I'll film a video about it, but it really got me thinking about this gentleman's life. Although he's accomplished a tremendous amount, like his life has been defined by his business. And that's not a really positive thing in my opinion, unless you're doing something that you're completely passionate about and that's exactly what it is that you want to do. I get the sense from this individual, having met him, that he would love to be kiting and fishing and surfing and doing the things that you do here in the Outer Banks, but he's tethered to his business. And then just coincidentally, I got an instant message from one of our Facebook group members, Jennifer, and she wanted to know a little bit about the Nashville live event and what would be covered there. I've included the link above for any of you that want to attend. I think we have a handful of seats left and we're going to sell out. I'm super excited about that. But she was asking about some of the things that we were going to be talking about in Nashville, and it's basically the same concept distilled down, and I want to talk about it right now and teach you some of the things that we're going to be covering in the Nashville event. So owner versus an operator, and what's the basic difference? Both people own, say, short-term rentals, and this applies to any industry. I was in the ground transportation business when I first started, and I was sharing a story earlier with Charles that I was sort of a prisoner of my own success. The more success I had, the more problems I had, and therefore, like, secretly I wanted to grow slower, or I wanted to grow less, or I wanted to really accelerate and grow faster so that I would have enough resources to go ahead and solve these problems. So it was kind of this weird mix where I wanted to grow really quickly, but I was scared to grow quickly because I had these problems, and the more success I had, the more chauffeur issues and the more hiring issues and the more failure issues and reservation issues. And so it was kind of like I was a prisoner of my own success, and I didn't see how to get out of that. And so I've encouraged people to read the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. That's a great place to get your mind sort of around this concept. But basically, whether it's short-term rentals or ground transportation or the motel that this gentleman owned, we have to be super careful and diligent that we're creating successful businesses that work for us, giving us the life that we want, the freedom that we want, so that we can do what we want. And so in Jennifer's particular instance, she said she's got one STR in Tampa. She's about to close on a second. It's her life dream and her husband's dream to get, I think, 3 more to get a total of 5. And at the same time, she's just complaining that she's never done more laundry. She's got 4 kids and 13 grandkids, and 1 STR is more laundry than she's ever have to do. And she's got trained cleaners, and she's still doing laundry. And so she's like there all the time and working on the property. And that's exactly what you don't want to be doing, right? Like, as you're starting your retirement and you've been working your entire life, and her husband's a successful executive and they've got some resources and that's how they're going to scale, your retirement shouldn't be wrapped around your business, whether it's short-term rentals or any other, and doing laundry. That's just not like the right approach in my mind, unless that's what you want to do. But it was clear that Jennifer did not want to do that, so she reached out to me for some help and some advice and trying to understand what the Nashville event would cover. And the basic premise is we're going to talk specifically about how you automate your business and how you hire and attract the right team, and you build a culture so that you don't have to be there. And this then allows you to scale, to overcome that anxiety that you may fear and face about, well, gee, I'm already running around ragged and I've got 2 units or 4 units or 10 units and I can't take another 10. When you scale properly and you automate properly and you put in place the exact systems and processes that we're going to talk about and teach you in Nashville, then scaling becomes your friend. You want to scale as quickly as possible. You want to grow as much as possible. You want as many cash engines throwing off as much cash as possible, and it's not something that you fear. But what was kind of interesting to me, Jennifer does what I think happens to a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, and it's just natural. This is what we do in our minds, and we think it's totally the right thing to do. And it is right to some degree, but it's also very risky. And so I said, okay, so you've got one place in Tampa. Where's your second place going to be? And it was going to be Tampa. And I said, okay, and then you've got these other places. Where are those going to be? And Tampa was the answer. And she said, well, we're selling our dream home because we don't want to be too far away from Tampa, so we're going to actually move closer. And so to me, like in my mind, I'm saying, oh my gosh, this is like the exact thing that you don't want to be doing. You don't want to have that proximity, because then just in case, like I can go over there just in case the cleaner doesn't show up. Well, guess what? You're going to be there. The cleaner's not going to show up. You're not going to have the right team. You're not going to have them properly trained. They're not going to do a great clean and turnover, because they know that just in case is good enough. That's basically what you're teaching people. So for me, as you start to think about your retirement or your business or anything, the fact that it's uncomfortable to do what I call remote hosting and have properties in other locations is critically important, right? Like I have never gotten on an airplane to go to my property in Alabama. I've never gotten on an airplane to go to my property in Colorado. I've never gotten on an airplane to go to my property in Jackson Hole. I've never had to travel for any just in case. My just in case is planned in advance. I have a team prepared, trained, ready to execute. In fact, I can be completely off grid. There is no just in case. I have my entire team trained and automated such that I can be on a live aboard ship in the middle 200 some odd miles off the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, and my business runs as normal. And so that's exactly the methodology that we're going to be teaching people, is how to instill that framework, that training, that education, where to find people, how to train people, how to share feedback with them so they understand and they grow and they learn themselves. And so now you have a team and a culture of excellence and 5-star reviews, and you can be doing whatever it is that you want, or in Jennifer's case, she could be golfing if that's what she wants to do. But the second thing, and this is really very intuitive to me, but I think it's because of my background running a very large, $4.5 billion hedge fund. We talk about that in some of the emails that you've received, but the real thing that we don't talk about that, and I apologize, is how you do that. You don't just go assemble $4.5 billion worth of really good ideas and you throw them in the portfolio and you hope that they generate a lot of return. You create a portfolio by design. Just like if you were going to bake a cake, to simplify it, you don't just take eggs and flour and sugar and whatever else and you just mix it up in random proportions and hope for the best and put it in the oven for some random amount of time. You have a very specific recipe that you follow. And there's modern portfolio theory that dictates exactly how to create the right portfolio. So what you're looking to do when you create any portfolio, whether it's stocks or bonds or real estate or short-term rentals, when you're generating returns from investments, you're creating a portfolio. And at the largest level, everything that you have is a portfolio. So if you have a 401k and you have some bonds and you have some stocks and you have some short-term rentals and long-term rentals, then that's your overall portfolio. How that's constructed is critically important for your long-term success. So what may work in a given day or in a given week or a month or a year and feel good right now doesn't necessarily work going forward. What you want to look for is correlation risk. When the shit hits the fan and all correlation goes to 1, are you diversified? Are you protected? Because when 1998 happens, or 2008 happens, or 2002 happens, or 1937 happens, when the world gets like completely out of whack, how is your business going to survive? And if your survival depends on your business, right? Like, so this is not a side gig, this is your primary gig, and this is what you do for a living, then you better be diversified. And having all your eggs in any one basket, and I don't care how great the basket is, Tampa, New York City, San Francisco, Vancouver, all wonderful cities, tremendous opportunities, it looks fabulous. But I would never put all of my eggs in any one of those baskets because, God forbid, something happens. And it could be a natural disaster, it could be a storm, it could be a hurricane. Hurricane Sandy took out New York City. Not too, a decade or so before that, remember in Los Angeles, the highway collapsed during an earthquake and Los Angeles was inaccessible? Or, God forbid, somebody dies in an Airbnb in a small community in Tampa, and Tampa gets crazy and says, that's it, no more Airbnbs, there's a moratorium, everything is like frozen, we're not allowing Airbnbs, all reservations must be canceled immediately, and we're going to think about this for the next year. Well, now all of a sudden, what does your retirement look like, or your business look like? And I'm not wishing any of this on anybody, and I'm not being a doomsayer. In fact, you think I think you know me. I'm one of the most optimistic people you've ever met in your entire life. So the reason I'm optimistic is because I'm also prepared and I'm diversified, and I create these portfolios so that I can weather all the storms. We used to have jargon in my hedge fund days about all weather portfolios. We don't want it to work when the sun is shining. We also don't want it to work when it's only raining. We also don't want it to work when it's only foggy. We want the returns to crank out during all weather systems. And in fact, we want to have some things that are intended to lose money always, except for periods of dislocation, right? So negatively correlated assets are important to have in your portfolio so that in 2002 and 2008 and these periods of dislocation, when everything else shits the bed, some things go up. So, long story short, modern portfolio theory dictates that you should have as many as possible uncorrelated assets. The fact that all of these investments are short-term rentals means there is a correlation inherently in them. But what we can do is we can diversify by type, size, geography, location, price point. We start to diversify these investments, and now we're creating something that's all weather. And so that gives you the opportunity to really enjoy your retirement. If your engines are firing on all cylinders in all storm environments, you can go golfing during your retirement. You don't have to sit there because you've got the team in place that I've taught you exactly how to hire, where to look for them, who to hire, how to train them, and how to build that culture of excellence so that you can go do whatever it is that you want to do and your business is working for you. So instead of you being an operator and working in your business, you reverse it. The business is busy working for you so that you can do whatever it is that you want to do and enjoy your retirement or your Tuesday afternoon, whatever that might be. But I thought it was pretty interesting for me that the natural tendency for all people, Airbnb has been so successful for so many people because there's so much demand, and it's really not that hard. Those of you that have been paying attention and learning from the YouTube channel and the Facebook group and educating yourselves and growing your businesses, you're doing even better, right? But like, if you recall, when you first got started, before the education and the content, it was working okay too. And then the content and the education helped you get even better and more profitable and grow a little bit. And now you're growing more and you're getting even more profitable. But here's the thing, guys. What worked in the past is not going to work in the future. Like, think about that for 1 second. What worked in the past will not work in the future. The easy money has been made. It's getting harder to make more money, real money, in short-term rentals. And that's largely because we're facing increases in everything. Increases in regulation, increases in competition, increasing in pricing pressure. There's just all sorts of things that are happening to your business and mine that didn't exist even a year ago, and certainly not 2 and 3 years ago. So if we just pause for a moment and take a look at the landscape today, where we are today, and how competitive it is, and how much regulatory pressure there is, then we have to say, gee, what worked in the past won't work in the future, so what will work in the future? And that's the way that I design all of my portfolios, and that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching in Nashville, is how to think about the opportunity set in short-term rentals on a forward basis so that we have long runway. We have decades of investment opportunity for these cash engines to throw off the profits that are there. So optimistically, I've never seen a better time to invest in short-term rentals, but it must be done in the right locations with the right investment thesis and the right geographies and the right diversified portfolio approach, because if you do it short of that and you just do what's natural to you, which is proximity, people tend to scale their businesses based on what they know. And so they come to these heuristic shortcuts like, well, I already own a unit on this block, so this other unit on this block is really cool because my cleaner can just go there. And then another unit opened up, a block away or in the same zip code or in the same county. And so it's all proximity based. That's what we as humans gravitate towards. The reason we gravitate towards that is because it feels certain. We're comfortable with the area. We're comfortable with the returns that it's generated. We know the community. We know what the laws are. And we also know who the cleaning lady is and so on and so forth. And so we try to stack and scale based on what we have currently in place. But what I'm here to share is that that is counter to your best interest. Your best interest is to not do that. And your best interest is to learn the skills to do what's called remote hosting. And then at that point, now you're finding the real cash engines, the right locations, the right homes, and we're going to teach you exactly how to do that, how I interpret the data. It's all available for anybody. Anybody can go out and get the data right now. But it's up to the interpretation. I'm going to teach you how to interpret that. I'm going to give real life examples. We're going to walk through existing portfolios of the attendees in Nashville and say, here's how you would diversify it. So I don't know if any of you watch Jim Cramer on CNBC. He's, a nut job. He's hilarious. He's whatever. Call him what you will. But he does this one segment, which is really appropriate, which is called, Am I Diversified? And so watchers of the show send in videos, send in their portfolios. And it's like, I've got Microsoft, I've got Apple, I've got Netflix, I've got Nvidia, and I've also got, Merck. And so he looks at that and says, no, you're not diversified. You're way over invested in technology. That's not a diversified portfolio. Like, the returns have been fantastic. It feels really good. It's what's working right now. But that is not a healthy portfolio. That is not the way that you want to build your retirement or your investments or your investment strategy. Like, that is a failure for disaster. So it's the same kind of thing here, right? That person that invested in those stocks was basically buying what's working now. It feels good. They're looking at the returns and they're like, yeah, this is working. I'm going to buy more. And I don't have Apple, so I'm going to add Apple to the portfolio. But I can tell you that while it feels good, like what goes up goes down. And the faster it goes up, the faster it goes down, right? That's just like proven in any investment that there is. So the rate of return is also commensurate with the rate of risk. That's why you're getting that rate of return. So if you're just doing what's been working in the past and you're doing what feels confident and you've got high conviction in because it's been what's working, stop for 1 second and question, what is the unintended consequence? What risk am I introducing into your portfolio? And I would argue that every single addition into your portfolio must be for diversification, not for cash flow. There's cash flow all over the place. You do not need to scale to add cash flow. Let's pause for 1 second. If you're buying more properties and you're scaling your Airbnb business to take advantage of this opportunity, you are not doing it to add cash flow. You are adding more of these properties to diversify some of your existing risk. The side benefit is the cash flow. And then you take that cash flow and you reinvest it. Where? For more cash flow? No, for more diversification. The holy grail of investing is low risk, high reward. Adding more of the same into any portfolio is more risk and the same return. You do not want to do that. What you want to do is have a holistic approach to investing and creating a portfolio of diversified investment strategies, of which one component is short-term rentals. And then within the short-term rental component, you want to have as much diversification as possible to weather all storms. And the thing is, we as humans, we identify the storms that we've seen in the past. Well, this didn't go down in 2008, and this survived 2002, and this survived this hurricane, and this survived. Doesn't matter. That's what happened in the past. Now it'll happen again, but it'll be different. So I'll give you a real life example in the hedge fund days. Back in like 1998, 1999, there's an investor, Paul Tudor Jones. He actually pays Tony Robbins $1 million per year to coach him. He's been with him for, 14 years or something like that. But that's how much value he derives from that individual mentor and that relationship. He pays him $1 million a year. I went and I sat with Paul Tudor Jones. I think I filmed a video about him. He was eating a chicken leg at 10 o'clock in the morning. But what really impressed me was he was the first person I saw that thought about location risk. So if his building went down, then all of his trading operations ceased and he couldn't continue to operate. So he went out and he bought, and he fully furnished and outfitted electric and computers and everything, a redundant office. And he had that redundant office, he pointed it to us in the meeting. He said, you see that building over there? In a southern accent, which I can't recreate. You see that building over there? We said, yeah. He said, that's the duplicate of the building we're sitting in right now. Every desk is the exact same, every computer is the exact same, and in fact, we have like fire drills where sometimes I just say on Thursday, we're gonna all go work over there. And so his entire team, I don't know, he had 100 people working there. They just went and worked over there. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, this guy's got redundant offices. That's a crazy expense. I can't even imagine how much that costs to have that redundancy. But for him, he realized that, he's limited to that one location, and that's real major risk that he did not want to take. So he spent as much as it cost to put that second location in place. Okay, so that was really good back in 1998, 1999. We've got diversification, we've got duplication, we've got redundancy. But then, if you recall, it was probably, 5 or 6 years thereafter, there was the brownout, and the entire East Coast went down from like Maryland all the way up to New York. So if you had an office in any part of the East Coast, all of a sudden you were browned out, you had no electricity, and your businesses were shut. So what did the successful hedge fund managers that I interface with on a daily basis do? They opened up offices, duplicate offices, on the West Coast and in Europe, and some had them like in multiple continents. So God forbid there was a natural disaster that nobody envisioned, like the entire East Coast being browned out. You just get on an airplane and you go to the West Coast and you light up and you're up and running, right? Or you go to Europe. If the East Coast and the West Coast, if it's the USA got browned out, now you just go to Europe. But you have to start thinking in advance. You have to be forward thinking. You have to anticipate the things that you can't possibly imagine, because that's what keeps you alive and keeps you in the game. Otherwise, you're just a calamity like everyone else in the downturn. And I don't know that anybody's really stopped to think about it or really understands how much risk is in a portfolio when you've got all your assets in any one community. Like, it's really risky. Now, it may continue to work, and I hope and pray for you that it does continue to work forever. I'm not wishing anybody any bad luck or ill will or predicting anything, Nostradamus or anything like that. But I'm just saying that there's far more risk in people's portfolios than people recognize, and they're being lured by the cash flow, like it's working, and they think they're being safe because they can go there themselves. And in fact, I'm arguing and I'm teaching the exact opposite, that not only is proximity your enemy, because then you're going to go there, and if you want more passive income and you want to retire and you want your business working for you and you don't want to be an operator, then proximity is your enemy. You are much better off investing in locations that are far away from you. And once you open up your mindset to that concept of modern portfolio theory and diversification, now it's really easy. Now we just go for like the best spots that we think have the best future on a go forward basis for decades. Like, where will people be going forever? And what will they be looking to do in those places forever? And now all of a sudden you can have a forever place here and a forever place there and a forever place here and a forever place there. None of them are near you, so there is no what if scenario. The what if scenario is you've got teams in place. They've been trained. You've got a culture of excellence. They execute. They take it seriously. Your business is their business. They grow as you grow. That's the what if scenario. And then you encompass modern portfolio theory so that you're well diversified, and you expand your mindset, which I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that, and say, not only can I do remote hosting, I must do remote hosting. I'm not going to add a third or fourth or fifth place in Tampa, right? And so once you start to get your concept around this, your life will never be the same, because you'll view your investments in short-term rentals and in stocks and in bonds, and I can help you with all of that. That's what I did. That's what I do. Your mind expands, and the opportunities that you see expand, and the way you think about risk versus reward expands. And that's the value of being in person with me for 2 days in Nashville. So I don't know how long we've been live, maybe 23 minutes. I hope this has helped expand your horizons and start to think a little bit differently and start to introduce the R word that nobody likes to think about, risk, right? When stocks are in a bull market, everyone thinks they're a great stock picker. It's easy. We're making oodles of money. It's so easy. It's fantastic. I'm going in on leverage. I've got margin. I'm doing this. It's going great. I bought the house. I got the boat. I got a new car. It's all wonderful. The tech stocks are rallying. It's amazing. It's so easy. You should do it too. And then guess what? Oopsie. I didn't know about the downside risk. I didn't know how quickly markets could come down. I had no idea that we could open up down 10%, limit down, futures are sold, everything is sold, nothing is open. I can't even get out. You have to prepare for those days. That's what makes a real investor. That's what makes a real successful entrepreneur. That's what makes a real wealth person, somebody who can survive those. I'm not to say that you won't take a mark-to-market loss and it'll be comfortable. It'll be the most gut-wrenching, uncomfortable experience you've ever experienced. But you're alive, right? Like, you're alive for another day. Now, if you've got all your eggs in the wrong basket at the wrong time and something terrible happens, like there's a moratorium, no more Airbnbs, I don't care that you have 23 places. They don't care. Moratorium, frozen, nothing else happening, regulation passed, changed the game. Okay, well, now you hurt me on one business, or maybe two businesses, but not 5, 10, 15, 20, right? And then guess what? You're not the only person in that town or that village or that zip code or that block that is suffering. So guess what happens? Everyone says, oh, it's that same thing when you're at the movie theater, everyone rushes to the fire escape and people get trampled. So if there's a moratorium or there's a natural disaster or something terrible happens, your escape plan right now is to go to long-term rental or to sell. Am I right? That's a great long-term game plan, as long as you're the only one doing it. If everyone in that zip code is going to that same game plan at the exact same time, guess what happens to long-term rental pricing? Boom! If everyone goes to list and all of a sudden there's 100 new listings, 500 new listings in that zip code because STRs got banned, guess what happens to prices? Boom! So again, I'm not wishing this for anybody. I want nothing but the best for all of you. But it just strikes me as I'm reading these emails and these questions about the Nashville training and what it is that we're doing and how we're going to do it, that I really needed to elucidate modern portfolio theory, the importance of being a business owner, not an operator, how you handle remote scaling and training and operations, and how you build that actual business, and then the importance of diversification so that you can live for another day. Because I'm not predicting a calamity like anytime soon, but I guarantee you everybody watching this will live through at least one more, maybe two more, maybe three more. Now, real estate investing is a long-term investment, so you want to be able to hold. Can you hold right now? Ask yourself this question. If short-term rentals, and this is more dedicated to the people that have multiple people, a lot of the people in our Facebook group, I'm so happy for you, I'm so proud, you guys are scaling, you've got 5 units, you've got 40 units, you're all over the place, it's amazing, it's fantastic. But just stop and ask yourself this one question. If you woke up tomorrow morning and short-term rentals went away in your city where you've got 5 units, 13 units, 17 units, it just closed, you could not do that. Are you prepared? Do you have enough in your cash reserves to make those 17 mortgage payments, not for 1 month, not for 2 months, but how about 1 year or 2 years? And if the answer is yes, then chances are you have a really diversified portfolio and you're far better off than the majority of us. But if the answer is no, then you have to pause and say, whoa, I've built something that feels great and looks great and is throwing off a lot of cash, but I really haven't thought about the risks and the unintended consequences. And that's where I can really help you. Because if you have that kind of cash and that kind of portfolio, we can do things with 1031 exchanges, defer taxes, so there's no tax bill, there's some fly flying around, defer taxes, and start to build a diversified portfolio that's going to help you reach your goals, your retirement, your dream, like whatever it is that you want. So you can go for a week or a month or a year and be completely off grid. I mean, you guys see how much I travel. That's really important to me. Adventure and travel and excitement and sports and all that, like that's my why. That's what I want to do. Now, I use these cash engines to fund that lifestyle. But if I was beholden to one location, first off, I wouldn't sleep at night, right? Like that's a lot of risk. And for me personally, having developed $4.5 billion portfolios of calculated, diversified, uncorrelated risk assets into a portfolio, that's what a portfolio is. A portfolio isn't a collection of the exact same risk. That's one risk. A portfolio is a collection of different risks with different profiles and different return streams and different characteristics so that you have a diversified portfolio approach to investing. That's really important. And if you aren't really doing that right now, then I can help you, or I encourage you to help yourself, but start to think about that. And there's methods and means that we're going to teach in the Nashville class to do 1031s, to get out of some of the risks. In fact, I just sent an email, a video to the people that that joined, asking for their financials and their Airbnb reviews. I want to see where they are. I want to see what their listings look like. I'm adding value like immediately before August, because I really want to help these entrepreneurs get to a place where their business is thriving, they're reaching their goals, they're doing what it is that they want to do, and they're using STRs as a tool to get them there. And they're not beholden to STRs, or they're not beholden to one community, they're not beholden to one set of regulations. All of that is way too risky, and I just want to sort of like go out there and ring the bell. What's worked in the past will not work in the future. More competition, more regulation, more of risk in your portfolio, may not even be a portfolio that you don't even realize that you have. And so now we have to pause and think and say, whew, that was a great run. The opportunity, Richard says, has never been brighter, and I firmly believe that. I'm raising a fund to take advantage of this. There's so much opportunity in the short-term rental market right now, it's insane. But we all know Pareto's law, right? 20% of the gains and 20% of the success will be, 80% of the gains will be borne by 20% of the people, the 20-80 rule, Pareto's law. I don't think it's quite like that. I don't think the gains will be by 20%. I think it'll be even smaller. The people that really understand the opportunity set and understand what it is that we're doing and how we're creating diversified portfolios of cash engines, they're the winners. What worked in the past, the plain vanilla, the generic, the commodities. In fact, I'm filming with Charles today. I'm going to film a video about do not create a commoditized business. Do not create a generic business. Create something that's special, that has unique value with unique locations. If you do that and you do it consistently and you diversify and you embrace, you go outside your comfort zone and you embrace that remote hosting capability and skill set, and I can teach you exactly how I've done it, step by step, what I've done in each location, who I've hired, what I pay them, what I do, how they communicate with me, how we communicate with them, who's on my team, what they do and how, so that I can go travel the world and I have this diversified portfolio. Look, I've got risk in my portfolio. I'm not suggesting that I don't, but I know for a fact I have a lot less risk than anybody who has multiple properties in one location. I have another set of entrepreneurs that I've been working with behind the scenes. They've got multiple properties in a location that I'm not going to disclose because we're working on a deal. It's really exciting, a really big deal, but they have many units in that same city. And my very first thing before they showed me the deal was, you should diversify. How about we do this deal in a different city? Now, this is a deal that they want me to participate in and help them bring to market. I don't know if it's 100 units or something like that. But when I took a look at their portfolio, my very first thought was to help them and say, I don't know if you need more risk in this city. Like, it's a great city and it's wonderful and it's working really well and you've done fantastic, but do you have any concept of how much risk you're taking? And, unfortunately, I think people have a barrier. I'm not sure why. I'd love to hear some insight. Maybe you guys could comment below, like, what is holding you back from remote hosting? Why do you think you can be successful in your community? Super successful, but you couldn't do that in the neighboring state or across the country. Like, to me, they're one and the same. In fact, I started hosting remotely. It was very natural. So it's intuitive. And so I have a little bit of a roadblock. If you guys can help me understand what those self-limiting beliefs are, then I can try and address them. Because to me, it's just like, well, of course that's what I do. But I understand that the vast majority of people, whether it's on my YouTube channel or in the Facebook group, don't view the world that way. They view the world as, no, I like this community and I like this street and I like the street across the street and I like the block away, and that's like just proximity is certainty. But that's the wrong thought process. That doesn't really work. Or said differently, that works really well until it doesn't. And I hope for you and I pray for you and I wish for you nothing but the best, and hopefully it continues forever. And I'm just totally wrong. Nothing would make me happier than being like the crazy guy with long hair on YouTube and Facebook who predicted that there would be some city that has some disaster that affects some Airbnb hosts. That would make me really happy. But we all know the truth, right? Like, something's gonna happen. Someone's gonna get hurt. And I just don't want it to be you. So it would be ridiculous for me to spend the last 2-3 years filming 400 YouTube videos and going live all the time and doing this live Nashville event and not warn you of the risks that are in your portfolio, whether you recognize it or not. I recognize it, and I need to share that advice with you. And to the extent that I can help you overcome self-limiting beliefs and teach you exactly how to remote host, and then maybe you don't know modern portfolio theory, but I do, and I can share that with you step by step, exactly what I do, how I locate the right zip codes, the right homes within the zip codes, how I add them to the portfolio, how I make sure that they're diversified. So now all of a sudden, you guys have something that's of real lasting value and can weather all storms. I need to get on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live and share that information with you. And like I said, this has been 35 minutes now, so I can't really spend 2 days with you here. But if you found this interesting, inspiring, uplifting, encouraging, sort of mind-altering, and saying, wow, I didn't realize the risk I'm taking and I'm not that comfortable with it. This is supposed to be a very safe investment. Real estate is a safe investment, and it is, but it's when it's done right. So when you take a look at institutional real estate portfolios, I'll give you a different example, one we can all relate to. Insurance. We all own home insurance and we all own car insurance. Do you think there's any insurance company in the world that you went to them and said, I have 40 cars, they're located in Nashville, I want you to insure just 40 cars in Nashville? Do you think any insurance company on the world would underwrite that risk at any premium? The answer is no, no chance. The way insurance companies work is they have a diversified pool. They take young people and old people. They take males, they take females, they take married, they take not married. They diversify them across 52 states, and they need millions of cars or millions of homes so that when that natural disaster hits in like one city, one town, all of this tornado blew off all the roofs and it's a total wipeout, it's a disaster, and we feel terrible for the people. Guess what? The insurance company still makes money. They are still alive. They collect premiums next year. And the reason is because that happened in one community, not in their entire portfolio. So just stop and think. If some of the most successful insurance companies in the world wouldn't invest and protect you 40 homes in Nashville, 40 cars in Nashville, then why would you do that with your own hard-earned money? You guys have been working your butts off for your whole life to save, to invest into these STRs, and now you're working in your STRs, and like if you see a brighter future and the opportunity set is great, but you're taking this risk that perhaps you haven't thought about, and I just need to bring that to your attention. I hope it never happens, but I need to share with you that you're taking some risks that you're unaware of, and I need to teach you exactly how to diversify and how to get over that mindset limitation that says I can't do remote hosting, or that's too risky, or boy, that feels really uncomfortable, or boy, I need a property manager. You don't need any of that. What you need is just the exact same tools and steps that I use consistently, and I've been doing it for years now all across the country. I don't have any concentration. I don't have any concentration by design, not by accident. It's not that I couldn't buy a place on the street, next door to mine, or there was nothing for sale, or I couldn't afford it. I was like, well, I've got one here, so now I need one over there. And I've got one there, and I need one over here. This one's prone to hurricanes, so this one's prone to, snow and no snow. And you just start to build things out, and that comes very naturally to me, and I apologize if I haven't done a very good job explaining all that, but that's why I wanted to get on this Facebook Live and YouTube Live and just sort of encourage you to start to think about, peel back the layers in the portfolio. What do you have? What do you like? What don't you like? The things that you don't like, let's get rid of, tax-free, 1031 it, and get something that you do like. And here's the beautiful thing. When you're doing things by proximity, you are a return taker. Whatever the returns are in that zip code or in that city or in that block, whatever the demand is, you just take that. When you start to open up your mind and say, I can invest anywhere in the world, then you can start to generate your own returns. I'm going to take a really risky one that's going to generate a lot of return over here, and a really conservative one that's just going to be consistently occupied over there. And I don't care about this one unit and this one unit. I care about the 10 units when they're combined. What does that blended return look like? How much risk do I take for that blended return? And that's what we're going for. And what I'm going to teach people in Nashville is how to pick those places that have the regulatory environment that I believe will last for decades, that have the attractions that people are going to continue to come for decades, that don't have as much competition as some of these other places, and that generate high returns. Some of the things I'm looking at generate 40, 50, 60% annualized returns. That's insane. Now, If I was just chasing return, I'd fill a whole portfolio of 60% returns and I'd have a 60% year for 1 year or maybe 2 years. But then I wouldn't. I'm not encouraging that either. I'm saying let's pick 1 or 2 of those and diversify with some really conservative places. And then we look at the blended portfolio, and now we're generating, say, 20% annualized returns with very little risk. That's what's going to fuel your operator versus owner. You're an owner of your business at that point. That's what's going to fuel your retirement. That's what's going to help you accomplish your goals. And that's what's going to help you have a life, like for decades. So I don't know. I felt compelled. I saw this concept earlier today via the instant message from Jennifer, and I thought it was more, I responded to her, I answered her, I helped her. I took a look at her listing, and immediately in like 2 seconds, I gave her a piece of advice I think will generate more returns on her listing. And I shared all that with her on IM, and I was like, wait a minute, this is such a good message and such an important message that I need to share it with everybody else. And so that's why I went YouTube Live and Facebook Live, and I hope you guys found this. I saw all sorts of comments in here, but this really isn't a question and answers session. This isn't really intended to be two-way interactive. I just wanted to help people quickly. There's a lot of people that are looking at properties right now that are putting down, deposits, going to escrow. Just pause and think. And I don't mean to scare anybody, but I do want to give you some alternatives and a different lens to look at. And what I can tell you is, what I started to say is every institutional investor portfolio, I don't care if it's stocks, bonds, real estate, doesn't matter. Every institutional investor, and when I say institutional, I mean big banks, big insurance companies, big private equity funds, big real estate funds, the people that make tons of money, the people that we want to be like, the very first thing they do, guaranteed, is diversification. That's it. Like, that's the holy grail. Low risk, high reward. High risk, high reward doesn't work, right? That's called venture capital. They have 100 deals, they only need 1 to hit, 99 of them will fail. We can't have that in your business. That's not what we're doing here. Real estate is a very successful long-term investment opportunity as long as you have a long time horizon. With the regulatory changes, with the competitive changes, with natural disasters, with all these other things that may happen, we can't ensure a long runway in any one zip code. Nobody can. If you think that you've got the best zip code and you're immune from everything, then I apologize, I really can't help you. But if you listen to what I'm saying and it resonates a little bit, then we need to start thinking about what risks are in your current portfolio, how we get you over that limiting mindset that says that you can only invest in that same zip code, and we need to educate you on how to create a modern portfolio to take advantage of, again, some of the best opportunities I've ever seen on a risk-adjusted basis. But it must be done from a diversified portfolio approach. If you're missing that, then you're taking far more risk than you're thinking. And I feel at this point, I've got to exhale. It's off my chest, friends. Anyway, I hope you guys found this helpful, interesting. I think we included the link to Nashville. I think there's a handful of seats. I'm confident it'll sell out. And I'm so grateful for the people that are going to spend time with me. 2 days with me versus 42 minutes. And I've got to just say, yes! It's off my chest. I feel so much better. I felt like people weren't understanding what it is that I'm trying to do, what I'm teaching, how I do it, why it's important. And I just wanted to go live, set the record straight, and hope to educate you guys as to unintended consequences and risks, and also how bright the future is if you do this intelligently and properly and set yourself up for success, for the long term, for your retirement, for your kids, for legacy. Like, this is it. This opportunity is fantastic. It's here, it's now. We're growing, we're scaling, we're doing it intelligently, but many of us are not really thinking this through because we don't have that knowledge. Well, I have that knowledge and I want to share it with you. My mission is to serve you and help you get to that next level. And I don't want you to get to that next level for like a year and then we have a hiccup and you go backwards or you fail and then you go back to work. My mission is to serve you for like your life. So that's the knowledge that I'm going to be imparting in Nashville and as wherever I possibly can to whoever believes, right? You have to trust that more portfolio modern theory works. I guarantee you it does. It may be new to many of you, but open your mind and start to think a little bit more about the risk, because that's where it starts. The secret to building wealth, and I've said this before and you can Google it, do not lose money. So if your entire business were to shut down because of some STR law change, some natural disaster, some competitive threat, something, Do you have the wherewithal in your 1, 5, 17, 40 units to exit over time at lower prices than today? Whether it's long-term rentals or sell, you're going to have to exit those 12 units, those 17 units, those 40 units. Can you make those mortgage payments for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, or 4 years with no income because everyone's running for the door at the same time? And if you can't, then the time to take action is now. Real estate markets are near all-time highs. It's a great time to sell. Summer is a great time to sell. But now you have to think about what you're going to reinvest in. When we do 1031, you have a very short window to identify the replacement opportunity and then actually close on that. So you have to start to think about where you're going to buy. I'm going to sell Tampa and I'm going to buy what? And that what should generate more returns than Tampa and diversify your risk. So you don't want like Fort Lauderdale, for example, right? That's a lot of similar risk to Tampa. I don't know the Florida market that well. I hope I'm kind of right. I don't even know if they're on the same coast. But Florida is Florida, and that's the easiest way to think about risk. Anything that is the same or has something in common is the same risk. It might be less risk, right? It's less risk to have Florida and Tampa, but you're still Florida risk, right? STRs in New York, in Vancouver, in Hawaii, very well geographically diversified, but they're still short-term rentals. So there's that connectedness, that component that keeps them together. So there's some correlation. Not as much as if you had those 3 same units in the same location, but there's still short-term rental risk. And we want to diversify all the risks away so that you generate this portfolio that allows you to live the life of your dreams, and you're not doing more laundry than you have with 4 kids and 13 grandkids, and you're in your proximity, and you're trying to scale, and you're like where I started with my business in Brilliant Transportation. I was an enemy of my own success. I didn't want to grow any faster because it just meant more headaches, more hardship, more failures, more disappointment, more hiring, more training, more. And I was like, I can't grow anymore. We want to get off that right now, and we want to start building the right portfolio. It's a great time to sell. I know there's a lot of friction or transaction costs in sales. It might be the single best thing you do in 2019. Rather than buy a place, let's talk about selling a place and diversifying and investing in the right location in the right house that minimizes your risk so you can sleep at night. That might be the trade of 2019. So, all right, friends, I hope you found this interesting and valuable, and I'm available for any questions that you may have. For those of you that are in Nashville, get ready for 2 full days of this. We're going to go crazy. We're going to go nuts. We're going to actually dive down deep, peel back the onion, how I hire, who I hire, how I train, how we communicate, how they communicate back to me, how we ensure success, how we get the 5-star reviews, and how I do this all remotely so that I have that diversified portfolio. Thank you, friends. Have a great day. Sorry to interrupt your afternoon. I'm sure you're busy, but this was like critically important. So thank you.